The security footage timestamp read 11:47 p.m. when Cassandra Wolf stumbled backward on the Grand Street Bridge in Detroit, her hand instinctively clutching her swollen belly. The grainy black and white video captured three figures advancing toward her, their movements deliberate, predatory. What they didn't know, what they couldn't have known, was that Dominic Thorne was watching from his penthouse office 17 blocks away, his enhanced vision piercing through the darkness like daylight. His phone clattered against the mahogany desk. The whiskey glass in his other hand shattered, amber liquid and glass shards spreading across financial reports that no longer mattered. "Sir." Marcus, his head of security, appeared in the doorway within seconds. Dominic was already moving, his 6'4" frame a blur of controlled rage. The bridge. Now. But even as his private elevator plummeted toward the underground garage, Dominic knew he'd be too late. The distance, the traffic, the precious seconds ticking away, they all worked against him. His wolf howled inside his chest, a sound of pure anguish that only he could hear. Through their bond, he felt Cassandra's terror spike, felt the exact moment her body hit the freezing Detroit River. The bond went silent. Not dead, he would have felt that like a knife to the heart, but unconscious. Drowning. Dominic's Bugatti screamed through downtown Detroit at speeds that would have gotten anyone else arrested. He had Marcus on speakerphone, coordinating the emergency response, but all Dominic could focus on was the tether connecting him to Cassandra, growing weaker by the second. But before we dive in, I need to ask you something that truly matters to me. If you've enjoyed my stories before, or if you're here hoping this one will move you, please don't leave without subscribing. Without your subscription, YouTube buries everything I create. The people searching for stories that make them feel something, stories about resilience, love, impossible choices, they'll never find them. Because the algorithm decided I wasn't worth showing. I'm not asking for money. Just 30 seconds to hit that subscribe button so others can discover these stories too. I pour everything I have into every word, every character, every chapter. And knowing I could reach someone who desperately needs it but won't because you didn't click, that genuinely breaks my heart. Please subscribe. It costs you nothing, but to me, it means someone believes these stories matter. Now let's continue. I'm 2 minutes out, he snarled into the phone. Get the dive team ready. Sir, the water temperature is 34 degrees. If she's been under for more than. She hasn't. Dominic cut him off, refusing to accept any other reality. She's a fighter. She's holding on. Through their bond, he pushed everything he had, strength, warmth, the absolute command to survive. He didn't know if she could feel it in her unconscious state, but he had to try. The bridge came into view. Dominic saw the black SUV first, still idling near the pedestrian walkway. Then he saw them, 3 women standing at the railing, looking down into the churning water below. They were arguing, their voices carrying on the winter wind. We need to go, one of them hissed. Someone might have seen. No one's here, another snapped. This area's deserted at night. We planned this perfectly. Dominic's blood turned to ice. Planned. This wasn't some random attack or crime of passion. This was premeditated murder. He was out of the car before it fully stopped, his wolf surging so close to the surface that his eyes blazed pure gold. The 3 women spun around, and he watched the color drain from their faces as they recognized him. Alpha King, one of them stammered. Elena Marsh. He'd met her at various PAC functions. Respected her work, or so he'd thought. We were just. Where is she? His voice came out as a growl that was barely human. We don't know what you're. Dominic was across the distance in a heartbeat, his hand wrapped around Elena's throat. Not squeezing, not yet, but the threat was clear. My mate. Where is she? Elena's eyes widened in genuine fear. The river. She fell. It was an accident. Liar. Dominic released her, fighting every instinct that screamed at him to exact revenge right there on the bridge. But Cassandra came first. Justice could wait. He vaulted over the railing without hesitation. Cassandra Wolf had never wanted to be Luna of anything, let alone the mate of the Alpha King. She'd grown up in Milwaukee's Riverside PAC, one of the poorest supernatural communities in the Midwest. Her childhood had been defined by rationed food, hand-me-down clothes, and the constant awareness that some wolves ate while others starved. She'd become a social worker because someone had to fight for the forgotten ones. The PAC elite held their galas and fundraisers, patting themselves on the back for donating pennies while hoarding fortunes. Cassandra had spent 15 years in the trenches, helping single parents navigate the welfare system, finding housing for displaced PAC members, fighting for every scrap of dignity for wolves society had written off. Meeting Dominic Thorne at a Minneapolis charity gala had been pure chance. She'd only attended because her boss insisted, and she'd spent most of the evening hiding near the catering table, uncomfortable in her borrowed dress. Then their eyes had met across the ballroom, and the world had shifted. The mate bond was supposed to be rare, precious, unmistakable. Cassandra had always dismissed it as romantic nonsense, the kind of fairy tale wealthy wolves told themselves to justify their arranged marriages and political alliances. But when Dominic approached her, when he took her hand and she felt the electric shock of recognition, she understood. This was real. This was fate. Dance with me, he'd said, and it wasn't a question. She should have said no. Should have run back to Milwaukee and her tiny apartment and her normal, unglamorous life. Instead, she'd let him pull her onto the dance floor, and everything had changed. 6 months later, she was Luna to the Alpha King, living in a Detroit penthouse that cost more than her entire PAC's annual budget. The wedding had been a spectacle, covered by every major supernatural publication, attended by PAC leaders from across the globe. Cassandra had felt like an imposter the entire time, certain everyone could see through her designer gown to the poverty PAC girl underneath. But Dominic never made her feel less than. He'd fallen for her passion, her fire, her unwavering commitment to justice. And when she told him she wanted to continue her advocacy work, wanted to use her new platform to actually change things, he'd supported her completely. You're not just my mate, he'd told her on their wedding night. You're going to reshape the entire supernatural world. I can feel it. She'd laughed at the time, thought he was being dramatic. Now, standing in the conference room of Chicago's Drake Hotel, watching the assembled PAC leaders debate her proposed reforms, Cassandra realized he'd been right. The Social Equity Initiative would redistribute resources from high-income PACs to struggling communities, she explained, clicking through her presentation. We're not talking about charity. We're talking about systemic change. Education funding, healthcare access, job training programs. We're talking about socialism, Victoria Clearwater interrupted from her seat at the head table. The Luna of the Great Lakes pack was draped in Chanel, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against the polished wood. You want to punish successful packs for their prosperity. I want to ensure all wolves have basic necessities, Cassandra corrected, keeping her voice level despite the anger simmering in her chest. Last year, 17 wolves died in the Riverside pack alone due to lack of medical care. 17 preventable deaths because they couldn't afford treatment. That's tragic, of course. Victoria's expression suggested she found it anything but. But the solution isn't to bankrupt established packs. It's to encourage struggling communities to work harder, to build themselves up the way our ancestors did. Several heads nodded around the table. Cassandra recognized most of them, wealthy Lunas and Alphas from packs that had held power for generations. They'd never known hunger, never worried about keeping the heat on in winter, never watched pack members die from treatable illnesses. Your ancestors built their wealth on the backs of weaker packs, Cassandra said quietly. The Great Lakes pack absorbed 3 smaller packs in the 1950s, stripping their assets and casting out their members. The Montana Coalition did the same in the 70s. You didn't pull yourselves up, you stepped on others to climb higher. The room went silent. Victoria's face flushed with anger. How dare you? It's documented history. Cassandra clicked to a new slide, showing pack merger records from the past century. I'm not here to shame anyone. I'm here to acknowledge that the current system is broken and propose solutions. We can do better. We have to do better. Elena Marsh spoke up from the middle of the table. Cassandra had worked with her on several initiatives over the past year and considered her an ally. The Luna makes valid points. The Twin Cities pack has implemented similar programs on a smaller scale, and we've seen positive results. Because you can afford it, Jennifer Blake from Montana countered. Not all of us have the tax base to support these programs. Which is why the initiative includes federal funding from the Alpha King's treasury, Cassandra explained. Dominic has committed $50 million annually to support these programs across all registered packs. $50 million of our money, Sarah Crawford from Pennsylvania muttered. The Central Treasury is funded by pack taxes. He's essentially redistributing our wealth without our consent. He's investing in the future of our species, Cassandra shot back. And the vote is tomorrow. You'll all have a say in whether this moves forward. She'd known it would be close. The summit had 27 voting members, and she needed 14 to pass the initiative. She had commitments from 12, soft support from 3 more, and 12 definite no's. Everything would come down to those swing votes. That evening, Cassandra called Dominic from her hotel room. Lake Michigan stretched out beyond her window, dark and vast and somehow ominous. How'd it go? He asked immediately. Could be better. Victoria's organizing opposition, and she's got the old guard firmly in her corner. Cassandra sank onto the bed, exhaustion hitting her like a wave. The twins kicked, as if sensing her stress. But Elena's helping, and I think I can bring a few others around before the vote. Come home, Dominic said, not for the first time. Let me send the jet. You can participate remotely. Dom, we've talked about this. If I'm not in that room tomorrow, they'll say I'm hiding behind you. That I'm too weak to defend my own proposals. She placed her hand on her belly, feeling the steady flutter of life. I'm 5 months pregnant, not helpless. I know you're not helpless. His frustration bled through the phone. But you're also carrying our children in a room full of people who would benefit from your failure. I don't like it, Cass. Marcus is supposed to arrive tonight. His car was sabotaged on I-94. Slashed tires, sugar in the gas tank. He's fine, but someone clearly didn't want him reaching Chicago. Cassandra's blood ran cold. What? I'm handling it. But it proves my point, someone doesn't want you protected. Come home. Please. She wanted to. God, she wanted to climb on Dominic's private jet and fly back to Detroit, to safety, to him. But she thought about the 17 wolves who died in Riverside last year. Thought about the children going hungry, the families losing their homes, the elderly wolves abandoned by a system that valued profit over people. I can't, she whispered. I'm sorry, Dom. But I can't run every time things get difficult. This vote matters too much. He was quiet for a long moment. Then I'm coming to you. You have the territorial summit in Detroit tomorrow. The Western PACs are already upset about the expansion regulations. If you miss that meeting, they'll see it as disrespect. I don't care. I do. Cassandra softened her voice. We're a team, remember? You handle Detroit, I'll handle Chicago. And tomorrow night, after the vote passes, I'll come home and we'll celebrate. Another pause. Then, promise me you'll be careful. No walking alone, no meeting anyone privately, no taking any risks. I promise. And call me. Every few hours. I need to know you're safe. I will. She smiled despite her anxiety. I love you, you overprotective alpha. I love you too. His voice dropped lower. Both of you. All three of you. After they hung up, Cassandra sat in the darkening hotel room and tried to ignore the unease crawling up her spine. She was being paranoid. Victoria Clearwater was a political opponent, not a criminal. The sabotage of Marcus's car was probably just a warning, a scare tactic to make her back down. She'd faced worse in her years as a social worker. She'd been threatened, intimidated, even physically attacked once by a PAC member angry about losing custody of his children. She'd survived all of it. This would be no different. The vote took place at 10 a.m. in the Drake's Grand Ballroom. Cassandra had spent the morning working the room, making last-minute appeals, reminding fence-sitters of their own struggles, their own wolves who'd been left behind by the system. By the time they took their seats, she thought she had the numbers. The vote was conducted by secret ballot to prevent intimidation. Cassandra watched each PAC leader drop their folded paper into the crystal bowl, trying to read their expressions, their body language. Victoria voted last, her face serene and untroubled. That should have been Cassandra's first warning. The count took 15 minutes. Cassandra's heart hammered the entire time, and the twins kicked restlessly, picking up on her anxiety. The vote is 14 in favor, 13 opposed, the summit chancellor announced. The Social Equity Initiative passes. Relief flooded through Cassandra so intensely she nearly wept. She'd done it. Against all odds, against the opposition of the wealthiest PACs in North America, she'd actually done it. Elena Marsh squeezed her hand under the table. You did it. We did it, Cassandra corrected, smiling through tears. But when she looked up, Victoria Clearwater was staring at her with an expression of pure, cold hatred. Not disappointment. Not frustration. Hatred. Cassandra should have recognized that look for what it was, a promise. The celebration was brief. Cassandra made the rounds, thanking her supporters, graciously accepting congratulations from even those who'd voted against her. She booked a 4 p.m. flight back to Detroit and started packing her hotel room. That's when Elena called. "Hey, I know you're heading to the airport soon, but would you want to grab lunch first? There's this amazing deep dish place in the Loop, and I wanted to discuss implementing the initiative in the Twin Cities." Cassandra hesitated. She wanted to get home, wanted to see Dominic, wanted to be safe in their fortified penthouse. But Elena had been instrumental in securing votes, and discussing implementation strategies was important. "Just lunch," she confirmed. "Just lunch. My treat. We can share a car to O'Hare after." "Okay. Send me the address." She should have called Dominic. Should have told him about the change in plans. But she'd just talked to him an hour ago, and he was in his territorial summit, and it was just lunch with an ally. The restaurant was nice, a tourist trap in the Loop, busy and bright and loud. Elena ordered for both of them, insisting Cassandra try the Chicago-style deep dish. To new beginnings, Elena raised her water glass. They talked implementation for an hour. Elena seemed genuinely excited about rolling out similar programs in Minnesota, asked detailed questions about budgeting and staffing and logistics. Cassandra relaxed, the morning's tension finally easing. "Ready to head to the airport?" Elena asked as they finished. "Definitely. I promised Dominic I'd be home for dinner." The car was waiting outside, a black SUV with tinted windows. Cassandra climbed in without thinking, her mind already on the flight home, on seeing Dominic, on the future they were building. She didn't notice they'd left downtown Chicago until they were on the expressway heading east. "Elena?" Cassandra leaned forward. "This isn't the way to O'Hare. Change of plans." Elena's voice had changed, gone cold and flat. "We're making a stop first." The driver's eyes met Cassandra's in the rearview mirror, and there was nothing but malice there. Cassandra's hand went to the door handle. Locked. She reached for her phone. Elena snatched it from her hand. "What are you doing?" Cassandra demanded, fear and fury warring in her chest. "What I should have done months ago." Elena turned in her seat. "You really thought you could waltz in from nowhere and change everything? Destroy the social order, bankrupt our packs, force your poverty pack values on the rest of us?" "Elena, I thought we were friends." "We were never friends." Elena's lip curled. "I pretended to support you because Victoria said it would help us get close, help us find the right moment. And now, after today's vote, we're out of time." Cassandra's hand went to her belly protectively. Through the bond, she reached for Dominic, pushing every ounce of fear and warning she could manage. The connection was strained by distance, but she felt him respond immediately, felt his panic, his rage, his desperation. Detroit, she thought at him, hoping the bond could carry specifics. "Taking me to Detroit." The bridge. She didn't know how she knew, but she did. This SUV was heading east on I-94, heading toward Detroit and whatever fate Elena and her co-conspirators had planned. "You won't get away with this," Cassandra said, forcing her voice steady. "Dominic will find you. He'll destroy you. Dominic will mourn his mate and his children, Elena replied. And then he'll move on. Maybe choose a more appropriate Luna next time. Someone from a respectable pack. The words hit like a physical blow. The babies. Elena, I'm pregnant. I know. Elena's eyes were dead. That's the point. Those twins represent the future of your agenda. They'd inherit the throne, continue your policies, dismantle everything our families built over generations. Better to end it now. 2 other women were waiting when they reached the industrial district near the Detroit River. Cassandra recognized them from the summit, Jennifer Blake and Sarah Crawford. All of them wealthy. All of them with everything to lose from social reform. Victoria sends her regards, Jennifer said as they pulled Cassandra from the SUV. Victoria ordered this. Cassandra looked between them, searching for any hint of conscience, any hesitation. She's having you commit murder. She's having us protect our interests, Sarah corrected. Nothing personal, Cassandra. You seem like a nice enough girl. But you've become a liability. They walked her to the Grand Street Bridge. Cassandra calculated distances, angles, chances of escape. She was trained in self-defense, had been since childhood, but she was 5 months pregnant with twins and outnumbered 3-1. Her wolf surged inside her, desperate to protect their young, but shifting would risk the babies. The Detroit River churned below, swollen with winter runoff and February snowmelt. The water would be just above freezing. Even if the fall didn't kill her, hypothermia would within minutes. Through the bond, Dominic was getting closer. She could feel him racing toward her, feel his wolf burning through the distance. But he was still too far away. Please, Cassandra tried one last time. You don't have to do this. We can find another way. There is no other way. Elena stepped forward. You made sure of that with today's vote. They rushed her together. Cassandra fought with everything she had, claws extending, wolf strength flooding her limbs. She caught Sarah across the face, felt satisfaction at the woman's scream. Grabbed Jennifer's arm and twisted, heard something crack. But Elena came from behind, slamming into Cassandra's back, and she was trying so hard not to hurt the babies, not to let them get hit. Her back hit the railing. She grabbed for purchase, for anything to hold on to, but 3 pairs of hands were pushing, shoving, forcing her up and over. The last thing she saw was Elena's face, twisted with satisfaction. Then she was falling, the icy air rushing past, the river rushing up to meet her. The water hit like concrete. Dominic found her 20 feet down, her body limp, hair floating around her face like a halo. She looked peaceful, and that terrified him more than anything. He grabbed her around the waist and kicked toward the surface, his wolf lending him supernatural strength. When they broke through, he gasped for air and immediately checked for her heartbeat. Faint. Too faint. But there. The riverbank was concrete and cruel, but Dominic laid her down as gently as he could and started CPR. 30 compressions, 2 breaths. 30 compressions, 2 breaths. His hands were shaking, the Alpha King's hands were shaking, and he couldn't make them stop. Come on, Cass, he begged between breaths. Come back to me. Come back to us. Water poured from her mouth. He turned her on her side, supporting her head, and she coughed violently. Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused and confused. Dom, she rasped. I've got you. He pulled her against his chest, both of them soaking and freezing and alive. I've got you. You're safe. The babies. We'll check. We'll get you to a hospital right now. He looked up as Marcus arrived with the medical team, as the helicopter descended toward the cleared parking lot nearby. But you're alive. That's what matters. Cassandra grabbed his jacket with surprising strength. Elena. Jennifer. Sarah. She coughed again. Victoria ordered it. She ordered them to kill me. I know. Dominic's eyes went gold. I saw. I watched the whole thing on the bridge cameras. You saw. Everything. He helped the paramedics load her onto the stretcher. And I promise you, Cass, they will pay for every second of your fear. Every moment you spent in that water. Every tear you've cried. They will pay for all of it. The helicopter ride to Detroit Receiving Hospital took 8 minutes. Dominic held Cassandra's hand the entire time while the medical team worked around them. Heartbeats are strong, one of the paramedics announced, the ultrasound wand pressed to Cassandra's belly. Both babies are showing good vital signs. Dominic nearly collapsed with relief. Both of them? Both of them. The paramedic smiled. Your maid is one tough lady, Alpha King. Most people wouldn't survive what she just went through. Most people aren't Cassandra Wolf, Dominic murmured, bringing her hand to his lips. She smiled weakly. Thorne. Cassandra Thorne. Damn right. The 72 hours that followed were the longest of Dominic's life. Cassandra slipped in and out of consciousness, her body fighting hypothermia and a serious concussion. The twins remained stable, but the doctors warned that the trauma could still trigger early labor. Dominic didn't leave her side. He conducted business from her hospital room, issued orders via phone and tablet, and orchestrated the investigation that would bring Victoria Clearwater and her accomplices to justice. Marcus delivered updates every few hours. Elena Marsh is in custody. We picked her up at a motel in Ann Arbor. She's already talking, trying to cut a deal. What's she saying? That Victoria masterminded the whole thing. Recruited her, Jennifer, and Sarah months ago. Promised them financial compensation and political favors if they eliminated the Luna before the twins were born. Dominic's jaw clenched. And the others? Jennifer Blake fled to Vancouver. Sarah Crawford's in the wind, but we've got eyes on her family in Philadelphia. They'll surface eventually. Marcus hesitated. No sign of Victoria yet. She knew this was coming and planned her escape well. Find her. Dominic's voice was quiet but absolute. I don't care if she's on the moon. Find her. Yes, sir. When Cassandra woke on the third day, Dominic was asleep in the chair beside her bed, still wearing the clothes he'd worn when he dove into the river. She watched him for a long moment, this powerful alpha who'd literally moved heaven and earth to save her. Dom, she whispered. His eyes snapped open immediately, and he was beside her in an instant. Cass. How do you feel? Like I got hit by a truck. She managed a weak smile. But alive. We're alive. The babies are perfect. Fighting like hellions, according to the latest ultrasound. His voice cracked. You saved them, Cass. The way you protected them during the fall, the doctors said it made all the difference. Tears spilled down Cassandra's cheeks. I thought we were going to die. I thought I'd never see you again. I know. He gathered her carefully into his arms. But you're here. You're safe. And I swear to you, on everything I am, no one will ever hurt you again. Over the next few days, as Cassandra healed, the full scope of Victoria's conspiracy came to light. Phone records showed months of planning. Financial records revealed payments to Elena, Jennifer, and Sarah. Security footage from the bridge captured everything: the attack, Cassandra's desperate fight, the moment she went over the railing. Do you want to see it? Marcus asked Cassandra when she was strong enough to give her statement. The footage? She did. She needed to see what Dominic had seen, needed to understand exactly how close she'd come to death. The video was worse than she'd imagined. Watching herself fight 3 women while trying to protect her unborn children, watching the fear in her own eyes, watching the moment of freefall, it took everything she had not to break down completely. I want them prosecuted to the fullest extent of supernatural law, she said when the video ended. All of them. And I want to testify. Cass, you don't have to. Yes, I do. She met Dominic's eyes. They tried to silence me. Tried to kill me to stop the changes we're making. If I hide now, they win. Even from a prison cell, they win. So she testified. First at Elena's trial, then at Jennifer's after she was extradited from Canada. Sarah Crawford was found hiding in her sister's basement in Pittsburgh and brought to Detroit in chains. Each trial was brutal. Each time, Cassandra had to relive the attack, had to face the women who tried to murder her and her children. But each time, she stood strong. She told her story without flinching, looked her attackers in the eyes, and watched justice prevail. Elena Marsh was sentenced to 20 years in Irongate Prison. Jennifer Blake got 25, with no possibility of parole. Sarah Crawford, who'd shown no remorse whatsoever, received 30 years. But Victoria Clearwater remained at large. The twins were born on a humid August night, 8 days after their due date. Cassandra's labor lasted 19 hours, and Dominic was convinced he'd aged a decade by the time the first baby, his daughter, entered the world screaming. She's perfect, the doctor announced, placing the baby on Cassandra's chest. His son followed 7 minutes later, quieter but just as healthy. Dominic held them both while Cassandra recovered from delivery, and felt his entire world shift on its axis. These tiny, perfect beings were his responsibility now. His legacy. His everything. What should we name them? Cassandra asked, exhausted but glowing. They'd debated names for months but never settled on anything. Now, looking down at his children, Dominic knew exactly what felt right. Hope, he said, touching his daughter's tiny hand. Her name is Hope. And him? Cassandra smiled. Justice. Cassandra's eyes filled with tears. Perfect. Hope and Justice Thorne. Born from violence but destined for something better. Living proof that their mother's reforms mattered, that change was possible, that the future could be brighter than the past. That night, after Cassandra fell asleep and the twins were settled in their bassinet, Dominic stood at the hospital window and looked out at Detroit's skyline. The city glittered in the summer darkness, light stretching as far as he could see. Somewhere out there, Victoria Clearwater was hiding. Interpol had leads in Paris, then London, then Hong Kong. She was always one step ahead, protected by her wealth and connections. But Dominic was patient. He'd wait as long as it took. Because eventually, Victoria would make a mistake. She'd get cocky, or desperate, or simply tired of running. And when she did, Dominic would be ready. Some debts could only be paid in full. The call came from an unexpected source, a security guard at O'Hare International Airport in Chicago. "I think I just saw Victoria Clearwater," the wolf said nervously. "I've been following the case. My sister lives in Milwaukee and benefited from the Luna's programs. I recognized her from the photos." Dominic had Marcus on the ground in Chicago within the hour. They found Victoria at baggage claim, collecting a Louis Vuitton suitcase and looking like she didn't have a care in the world. She barely struggled when they arrested her. Just smiled coldly and said, "I was wondering when you'd finally catch up." The trial was the most publicized in supernatural history. Every major pack sent representatives. The gallery was packed every single day. And Cassandra, now fully recovered and raising two rambunctious toddlers, testified with the same quiet strength that had made Dominic fall in love with her in the first place. "You ordered my death," she said, standing before the court with Hope and Justice in a double stroller beside her. "Not because I'd done anything to harm you personally. But because I represented change you couldn't accept. Because your wealth and status didn't entitle you to rule over others anymore, and you couldn't stand it." Victoria said nothing, but her eyes held pure hatred. "I forgive you," Cassandra continued, and shock rippled through the courtroom. Even Dominic looked surprised. "Not because you deserve it," Cassandra clarified. "But because holding on to that anger would poison me. Would poison my children. Would poison the work I'm trying to do. I refuse to let you turn me into something bitter and broken." She paused, looking directly at Victoria. "But forgiveness doesn't mean there are no consequences. You tried to murder me and my children. You corrupted 3 other women, turning them into criminals. You attempted to derail reforms that have already saved hundreds of lives across dozens of packs. You deserve everything you're about to receive." The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Victoria Clearwater was sentenced to life in Irongate Prison without the possibility of parole. She'd die there, forgotten, while the reforms she tried to stop flourished across North America. That night, Cassandra and Dominic stood on their penthouse balcony, watching Detroit's lights twinkle below. Hope and Justice slept inside, monitored by 3 separate security systems and a team of guards who took their jobs very seriously. "Do you really forgive her?" Dominic asked, echoing the question from 2 years ago. Cassandra leaned against him. "I forgive her for me. Not for her. I won't let what she did define the rest of my life." She paused. "But I'll never forget it either. None of us will. Neither will I." Dominic pulled her close. "Every time I close my eyes, I see you going over that railing. See you sinking into that river. It still wakes me up at night." "I know." Cassandra turned to face him. "But we survived, Dom. We survived, and we built something beautiful from it. The Social Equity Initiative has helped thousands of wolves. Hope and Justice are healthy and happy. We won. We did." He kissed her softly. "They thought no one saw what they did to you. But I was watching. I'll always be watching. Then it's a good thing we're on the same side. Inside, one of the twins started crying, Hope, judging by the indignant pitch. Cassandra laughed and headed back into the penthouse, Dominic following close behind. This was their life now. Late-night feedings and dirty diapers and the constant juggling of pack politics and parental responsibilities. It was messy and exhausting and absolutely nothing like what Cassandra had imagined when she was a poverty-packed kid in Milwaukee. But it was theirs. And as Dominic lifted Hope from her crib, as Cassandra settled into the rocking chair with Justice, as their little family existed in the quiet peace of 2 a.m., Cassandra thought about how far they'd come. Victoria Clearwater and her co-conspirators had tried to erase her, to erase the future she represented. They'd come terrifyingly close to succeeding. But they'd failed. And now, every day that Cassandra woke up, every program she launched, every wolf she helped, was a testament to that failure. Was proof that violence didn't win. That change was possible. That hope and justice, abstract concepts and her children's names both, were worth fighting for. They thought no one saw them push the Alpha King's pregnant maid off that bridge. But Dominic had been watching. The whole world had been watching. And they would never, ever forget. The footage still existed in the archives of Dominic's security system, a permanent reminder that justice might be delayed, but it was never denied. Not on the Alpha King's watch. Not while Cassandra Thorne still drew breath. She rocked Justice gently, watching Dominic soothe Hope across the nursery, and smiled. This was how they won. Not with violence or revenge, but with love. With family. With the simple, revolutionary act of refusing to give up. They'd survived the bridge. They could survive anything.